My name is David Ellis. I'm here tonight to talk about something that I am so passionate about. I am really excited about the message and the presentation that you're going to see. Now, I want to start with an understanding. You were given this by somebody that truly cares about you and about what you can become. Now, what I'm going to share with you, you may be a little upset by the end that it wasn't shown to you sooner. But the person that shared this with you cares enough to make sure that you have the opportunity to have anything that you want in your life. What I'm going to share with you tonight is literally a process of condensing time. Okay? So, let's get started. All right. Condensing time. How do we condense time? Right now in America, they tell us that you need to go out and you need to work for 40 years. What I'm going to show you is something that I call the 4-year retirement plan. We're going to show you how to take 40 and condense it to 4. Okay? Now, how do we do that? In order to retire, right? So the title of this presentation is the 4-year retirement plan. In order to retire, what do you need? You need money. You need money that comes in every day, regardless of what you're doing. Whether you're there actually physically manning the ship, or if you're off doing something else, living your higher purpose or greater callings in life, that money continues to flow. And it flows to you every day, day in, day and night, regardless of the actual time you're spending in that business. Okay, the definition of residual income. Now, what I would like to share with you is, first of all, my story. My story, you know, I work in an industry, network marketing, where we are currently attracting doctors, lawyers. The most recent recruit that I just enrolled was a gentleman who has 10 other businesses. And why did he come? He came for the simple purpose of creating a residual income. Something that doesn't have all of the strings attached. Something that doesn't have the liability. Something that doesn't have all of the risk associated with other things. There's more than one way to create a residual income, and we're going to get really clear about that. But in my opinion, there's one that stands out above the rest, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So I want to explain to you a little bit of where my commitment to residual income came from. You know, when I was 7 years old, my dad, we worked in a cattle ranch. My dad, in this cattle ranch, we had on the property, we had a separate house, and it was an extra house. And what they did is they rented that out. So once a month, I would go with my dad, and we'd drive down, he'd pull into that house, and he would walk in there. He'd walk in, he'd be in there for 5 or 10 minutes, and he'd walk out with cash. And that fascinated me. It fascinated me because when he went in, he talked for a few minutes, he came out, and he had equivalent to about 1/3 of what he was making. He got paid $1,000 a month, he got a half a beef a year, and he got all the utilities and housing paid for. In my mind, I grew up thinking if I could make $2,000, I would be rolling. He walked in, he came walking out with $400. And I thought, I will do something in my life that will create a sustainable income to where I will be paid regardless of what I do. So what I did is I actually went to college. I got a job right out of college. I started doing financial planning. I worked as a financial planner, a financial advisor for about 10 years. When the market crashed in 2008, so did my popularity. You see, everybody loves you when you're making their money. But the moment that you're not, you go from hero to goat. And I didn't like the fact that I had absolutely no control over that. I didn't manage their money. I handed it off to professional money managers, but they didn't know that. They thought it was me. So I got into real estate investing. I started buying up properties. I'd get investors and I'd pool them together, and I'd start to buy properties that created an income, a residual income. Now, the trick to that, and actually I love real estate, and I still do it today. But the challenge to that particular form of residual income is it takes a tremendous amount of capital. You either have to have access to it, or you have to already have it yourself. The beautiful thing about what we're going to talk about today, network marketing, is for many cases, doTERRA, for example, $35 gets you in the door. Now, we don't recommend everybody start with $35 because you got to have something to share. But that literally is what starts your investment in your network marketing business. Now, for some people, that network marketing may have a rough connotation. It may not be what you envisioned yourself doing one day. But I didn't either. And I stand here 4 years later, and I'm going to show you a glimpse of what it can do for you. So if you're one of those people that's sitting there thinking, I've never been interested in network marketing, and nobody will ever convince me otherwise, this is for you. If you're one of those people that has a spouse that's really excited about the oils, they love it, they're passionate about it, but it seems like they're spending a lot of time and they're not really getting the return on the investment that you would like to see, this is for you. Or if you're somebody that's sitting there thinking, I have a greater dream, I have a higher calling in life, I have things that I really want to do that are not what I'm currently doing right now, and I don't really see the path in what I'm currently engaged in, this is for you. And thank goodness that somebody thought enough to give this to you. Okay, let's get started. What I want to do is, in order to understand residual income, we have to first go back. We have to understand, what is it? What is it that we do that creates income in our life? Okay, because right now in America, we get paid in 4 different ways. Okay, we get paid in 4 different ways. The first way is you could be paid as an employee. Now, an employee is simply put, employees are dream makers. It's true. If you're an employee right now, you are a dream maker. It's just not your own. You're making the dreams for someone else. Okay? Now, as an employee, it's important, and I don't mean to diminish that, because we absolutely, every one of us at some point have been an employee, and it is very important, and I have all respect in the world for everyone who is an employee, because it's an important part of what we do. But if you have an aspiration for something higher, I want to show you another option. What many people do is they go from the employee where they're working for someone and they say, you know what, I'm building his dream, I'm going to build my own. And so what do? They go out and they decide, I'm going to be self-employed. Now, the difference between an employee and a self-employed is you're still an employee. You're just an employee of yourself. You own your job, and your job owns you. You get the freedom, all the freedom in the world, to choose which 18 hours of the day you work. But you will work 18 hours of the day. And if any of you are sitting there watching this who are currently self-employed, you know what I'm saying. The business rises and falls by your efforts. When you stop cracking backs, the income stops. When you stop massaging muscles, the income stops. When you stop laying bricks, the income stops. And for many of you, when the income stops, then starts the fear of, what happens if I can't go do this tomorrow? What happens to the rest of my life, my family, my responsibilities? That's a real fear. So I want to introduce you to the next way that we get paid. The next way that we get paid in America is as a business owner. Now, the definition of a true business owner is someone who actually owns an asset that creates an income. They don't necessarily have to be there every day. And in fact, by definition, a business will operate with or without your actual existence and time spent in that business. Okay? For example, the owner of, let's say, McDonald's right down the road. The owner of McDonald's is not there right now flipping burgers. Where is he? I don't know. But he's probably off doing something fulfilling his higher purpose or greater calling in life, should he choose to do so. Because he doesn't have to be there. You see, he set up systems. He put people in place that operate with or without him. And right now down there, there's probably some 18-year-old kid that's running the show. He's running this $1 million asset because a system is in place that allows him to operate within the realms of what's been set up. And the only reason it says manager across his chest is because he was there 2 weeks longer than the guy behind him. And because of that, he has an opportunity to move up. But he can never move up past the person that's above him unless they either leave, die, become disabled, or he leaves and does something else. And what happens is at some point, you go out there and you start to make some money and you start to get some assets built up, and then we get to the fourth way. And the fourth way that we make money in America is as an investor. And that's when you've built up enough money that you send your money out into the world and it comes scurrying home with friends. And you invest and you take some risks and you take some chances. You put your money out there and it creates an income that you can live on. Now that's really where we all like to be, right? That's what we're all shooting for. That's retirement. Retirement is when you've created an asset big enough that creates an income for you to live on for the rest of your life. And what I want to point out here is there's a big divide right here. There's a huge divide. Because this is a totally different mindset than this. There's a trench that when you understand, how many of you ever felt like you're stuck in your rut? There's a rut between those two. And what we have to do is we have to move from one to the other, because this, you guys, is a linear relationship. It is trading $1 or one hour for $1. 1 hour for $10, 1 hour for $20. It doesn't matter. It's $1 or 1 hour for $1 worth of money. Now, what happens is, how do you get more? You work more hours. It's all based off of one thing. Your success and failure in this side is based off of the effort that you put in. If you want to make more money, you work more hours. If you want to make more money, you take on more jobs. If you want to make more money, you crack more backs. At some point, you get to the point where you just can't do any more. And that's where we have to move over. We have to move over here to what we call the leveraged side. And when leverage is when you use the time, resources, and efforts of others. For the benefit of who? For the benefit of everyone. You guys, we need employees, and they need a job. That's not a bad thing. Business owners are the lifeblood of our society because they create opportunities for other people to grow and to develop. The problem is the relationship between an employee and an employer is I want to pay you as little as possible to keep you here. And so the moment you start becoming too valuable, right, you start to increase what you get paid. And the challenge is, what happens for a lot of people is they become so valuable that now they can get rid of you and go find somebody to do the same job for less money. And where are you at? So if you're not over here creating something for yourself, your risk is tremendous.
And that's a great point, David. Unfortunately, it's not as stable being an employee or self-employed as people might think. And guys, when you shift your mindset and you become a business owner or an investor, that's when you take control. You take control of your time. You take control of your resources. And you take control of your efforts.
After moving from the left side of the quadrant, from being an employee or self-employed, over to the right side of the quadrant, becoming a business owner or an investor, you begin to leverage the time, the resources, and the efforts of others. What we're doing is not measuring effort. It's creating an asset. And assets make us money. An asset is something you put into place once. You build it, you develop it, you grow it, and it continues to operate day in and day out, regardless if you are personally there manning the ship or if you're out enjoying your life on the beach with your family.
I'm Corey Chapman, and this is
Amber Nicole Walsh.
We are ClickFunnels and doTERRA affiliates. I'm an entrepreneur, and a lot of what David talked about happened to me. I was a controller for 8 years, and I became too valuable. I ended up losing my job. So I created my own certified financial planner practice. I am a Bitcoin investor. I own a digital media company that specializes in advertising on Facebook. And along with Amber, we are helping individuals live a holistic lifestyle.
My name is Amber Nicole Walsh. I became a doTERRA wellness advocate because I had a desire to make a massive impact with my life, and I wanted to change the lives of many others. doTERRA's co-impact sourcing significantly impacts communities globally, and their products are creating vibrant living in the people that are using them. I have been in holistic health and a lifestyle coach. I'm a passionate teacher of the doTERRA Aroma Touch technique. I'm a licensed massage therapist, creator of the Love Aligned Holistic Healing and Bodywork, and founder of the Love Aligned Healing Revolution.
For the benefit of who? For the benefit of everyone.
So the question we have for you is, are you ready to take control?
Are you ready to turn your passion for natural wellness into a thriving business?
If you are, please come along with us. And so, what does the Great American Dream say now? Well, first part is you're born. That's a requirement. You gotta be born. And next, you're gonna graduate. It's gonna take you between 17 and 24 years depending on where you wanna go.
And then you get to go to work for about 40 years. For about 40 years, you'll be in the workforce to earn your retirement, known as supposedly the golden years. 10 to 15 years you have. And guys, there's not an oil in the world that's going to save you from this. The average life expectancy is 80 years old. We're all going to die. And our goal in this is to increase your vibrant living capacity, to expand your golden years so that you can live younger, longer, and you can also have a profitable residual income so that you can spend time traveling and being with your family.
Exactly, Amber. You know, and during those 40 years that you get to work, you're not building your dreams, you're building somebody else's dreams.
And just because lifespan has increased does not mean that quality of life has also increased. We're seeing the chronic diseases becoming onset in people as young as 20 and 30. And they have to live their whole life in these awful, painful, chronic conditions, trying to work, trying to afford health care, hopefully to make it to retirement in their golden years, but it's highly questionable if they'll even have the health to enjoy those golden years. So we're trying to provide education and a solution for that. We want people having a vibrant, happy life, living younger,
Retire in
longer.
your 30s instead of in your 60s while you have a life to live. Now, we're going to continue on, and David's going to talk about opening up a spigot or a faucet during your career. When he talks about a faucet, he's referring to 401ks and IRAs.
You guys, the challenge is the golden years sometimes aren't that golden. As a financial advisor for 10 years, I saw people that they worked their whole life to retire, to encounter some sort of a health issue that then took all of their money to get their health back. 10 to 15 years. You guys, there is a better way. There's a better way. But what it looks like, and we have to understand what it looks like. What the Great American Dream says is that you're going to go over here, and while you're working those 40 years, you're going to go over here and you're going to carve a little bit out each month, a little bit away from your paycheck, and you're going to put that into a 401k, an IRA, some sort of a retirement plan, and you're going to grow that asset, right? Because what are we talking about? We're talking about retirement. We're talking about investment income. You're building an asset, and that asset's going to grow, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow. And some years you're going to make 50% return. And some years you're going to lose 40%. Some days you're going to earn 40, and then the next year you're going to lose 50. Okay? But you're going to hope that over time it grows. And what it does is it grows and it grows and it grows. And at age 65, we go over here and we turn on a spigot. And that spigot flows out money at an interest rate. And as a financial advisor in the financial planning realm, we typically target about 5%. Because that's money, when you have that, when you've retired, you can't have that sitting in the stock market earning 40 and losing 50. It's taken and it's put somewhere more conservative, and we've targeted 5%. If you can get a 5% return on your money, that's doing pretty good. And that's creating an income stream that does what? It's a residual income. It flows to you whether you're working or not, and provides for you an opportunity to retire. Okay? You guys, for most people, that's the first time in their life they ever experience a residual income. And the sad thing about that is, you think about it. How many people do you know right now are spending all of their effort wishing, hoping to age? They want to get here so bad, to relieve that job that they're working at, to relieve that pressure, to get out of the existence that they're in, because you guys, some people love your job, and that's fantastic if you do. Some people don't. But I hate the thought of someone spending their entire life waiting to age, waiting to get older, and then what's really funny is then we spend all their money trying to buy anti-aging products. It's a sad state of affairs, you guys, when what the reality is right now in America, you would have to, well, the average person is trying to target about a $4,500 a month income. Okay? So if you're trying to get $4,500 a month, this is an equation I did every day. Because you guys, I had people come in and they wanted to retire, and I'd ask them 3 simple questions. I'd ask them, how long? What's your time frame? Right? How long till you want to retire? And then I'd ask them, how much money do you need at retirement? And then I'd ask them, how much money do you have? Because you guys, this simple equation answers all the questions. And it says it to them in a way that I can't. Because what happens if I go tell them they don't have enough, who's the bad guy? I am. And what do? They go find another advisor that hopefully tells them something different. And so I use this equation to tell them the truth. And the truth is, average in America, most people are targeting about a $4,500 a month income. So $4,500 a month. Now, do you want that every month? Yes. So that's 12 times 12 months. Now, $4,500 a month times 12 months, that equals $54,000. Now, I want to make sure that you understand this, because if you get this concept, the rest of this is all going to make crystal clear sense. And when you get it, you'll know you got it, and you'll know it's sunk in. Because there will not be enough vetiver on this planet to get you to sleep tonight. Because this, you guys, this is what creates dreams. Now, $54,000, that is income produced from your asset. So you got to save up a bunch of money that at a 5% rate of return creates $54,000 a year to provide a $4,500 a month income. So what does our asset have to be? Well, you simply divide it by whatever interest rate you're going to receive. So we divide this by 5%. That equals $1,080,000. That's what people are targeting. That's where you hear, I need $1 million in the bank so I can retire. Because with $1 million in the bank at 5% interest, you're creating a $4,500 a month income. That is retirement. Okay? Now the problem is, you guys, what are the actual numbers?
The average 50-year-old in America has a total saved of $42,000. And that's just the average. There are some that have more, but alarmingly, 75% have less than $5,000 saved. 75% have less than $5,000 saved.
Well, what were they doing there in their 40-year career when they were supposed to be saving 5% of their money with everything?
It is pretty heartbreaking that the average 65-year-old at retirement, 98% that are retiring are dependent on Social Security, government, charities, family. Some of them are still working.
Exactly.
Do we have a problem? Do we have a problem? All around you. And maybe even you. Sitting there right now thinking about your 401k or your IRA at work. Are you on track for this? 75% of Americans certainly aren't. The statistic that really is scary to me is the one today. Of those people retiring today, age 65, 98% are retiring dependent. Not really retiring. So who's it working for? % of America. 2% of America right now are actually retiring self-sufficient. You guys, we're working 40 years for a 2% chance of success. And when your friend comes to you and they say, if I could show you a way that you could retire instead of 40 years, if I could show you how to condense that down into 4 years, would you be interested? And you think they're crazy. I'll tell you what crazy is. Crazy is working 40 years for a 2% chance of success. That's crazy. This, it may sound crazy, but I'm going to show you how doable it really is. Because not only is it doable, it's being done every day in doTERRA. In that company that your friend is asking you to take a look at, that your spouse is currently engaged in, or that maybe you're sitting there wondering, should I take a look? It's happening every day. And how is it happening? It's very simple. What do? We go out and we share the oils with people. We find people, we teach people, we enroll them, and then we duplicate it and do it all over again. That's what we do. That's the simple process. And so what does it look like over here? I want to show you what it looks like. It's 2 hours, right? Let's say we teach classes. Typically, you can do one-on-ones, you can do classes, whatever, but I'm going to show you an example of a class. Let's say you go out there and you work 2 hours. And you give all these invitations out, or you knock on somebody's door, or you call them up and you invite them to a class. Let's say you do that for 2 hours. And then they come. And it takes you 2 hours to teach that class. And then, because you're just getting started, or maybe you've been in there a little while, not everybody signs up right then, because sometimes people want to take it home and they want to talk to a spouse, or they want to think about it. And that's okay, because what we do is we follow up. And let's assume that you took 2 hours to do those follow-ups. And in that class, you spent 6 hours of work. And let's just say that in that class, 3 people enrolled. And let's say they enrolled, because I don't want to overinflate it, let's say they enrolled with the smallest kit possible, the Family Physicians Kit. And that Family Physicians Kit pays us what? It pays us $22.50. Woohoo! Right? $22.50. Now, but you got 3, so that's times 3. That's $67.50. Is that amazing? You don't think that's amazing? Maybe your spouse looking at saying, honey, that's 6 hours away from our children. That's 6 hours away from you being home. That's 6 hours of effort. Effort. For a $67 return. Now, is it cool? Yes. And I don't want to diminish the fact that that's a fast start bonus. And we use that money and we reinvest it in our business typically, and we buy more oils and we buy more books and we build a foundation that starts to build a unilevel, that starts to build the other ways that we get paid, and the income starts to grow. But in the beginning, if you're measuring your effort, this is not sufficient. Because you can go flip burgers at McDonald's for that guy that built the business, and you can make more than $10 an hour. And so oftentimes we get a spouse that then looks and says, you know what, sweetheart, I think that our efforts are spent better somewhere else because we're focused on effort. Or you might be sitting there thinking, you know, I'm working really hard and I'm spending time and I'm making sacrifices and I just don't feel like it's worth it. If that's you, this is where you're at. And I would encourage you to make the shift. Because when you make the shift and you recognize what you're doing, you're creating an asset. It's not just $67.50. You get paid that one time. That is a bucket that you just hauled, that you just dumped, you got paid, and now you're done. You got to go pick that bucket up and you got to go do it again. But what happens is, let's say these three people happen to get on a loyalty rewards order, right? They set up a loyalty rewards order of 100 PV the next month. And what does that create? You guys, for a lot of people, that creates the first residual part of your check. Because when those three people order $100 each, and the total volume in your order of those three people and anybody else on your front line that happens to order adds up to 600 PV, the company sends you a check for $50. Now, that may or may not get you excited, but the cool thing about that check is residual. Because how long are you going to get that check? You're going to get that check for as long as moms and dads, and grandmas and grandpas love putting oils on babies. Because when you empower a mother or a father or a grandma or a grandpa, when you empower them to take care of the health and the wellness and improve the lifestyle in an all-natural manner, at what point do they go away and decide, you know what, bag that, I'm going back to my other drugs? They don't. And this becomes very residual. Now, when it's residual, how often do you get it? You get it every month. So let's times it by 12 because you get it every month. That's $600 a year. Now, that may or may not get you really excited, but the powerful thing is, you guys, that's $600 that comes in every year, forever, as long as moms and dads, grandpas and grandmas love putting oils on babies. So this looks a lot like retirement money, doesn't it? So what would the asset have to be to create a $600 return per year? Well, let's divide it by what? The return, assumed return of 5%. When we do that, what do we get? $12,000. Now, I want to put some context into what that means. You guys, what that means is, if we're measuring our efforts, or we're measuring our activity based off the effort we're putting in, we made $67.50. But when we recognize that we're out there creating an asset, that one class that you went and taught, where you enrolled 3 people, and they got on loyalty rewards, that one class was worth $12,000 into an investment at a 5% rate of return, paying you $50 a month for the rest of your life. Now, how often would a spouse support you? Or if you're the spouse, does that make you look a little differently on the time your wife is spending or your husband is spending out teaching classes, if every class was worth $12,000? Now, every class isn't. You earn your $50 bonus, and then you help other people earn it, and you get a $250 bonus, and then you get a $1,500 bonus. That's all residual. But what I want to show you is what happens when you recognize the asset you're creating, and you go to work, and you become committed, and you simply get consistent. Right now, when I sit down with people and I show them the income disclosure statement, and I look at that and I say, okay, if you were to go out and build a doTERRA business, what rank or what income level do you think you could achieve? And you guys, everybody points at Presidential Diamond at $116,000 a month, and they laugh. And they say, that's monopoly money. That's not real. What do they point at? They point at gold. Because gold is what? gold is about $4,500 a month. You guys average in America, let's just say most people, that's what they're shooting for. That's what they're currently making. And the sad thing, you guys, people accept that as what they're worth. You think about that. Why do they look at gold and think, oh, you know what, if I worked really hard, I think I could do that? It's because that is what they're currently being paid. And when that's what they're currently being paid, that's what they believe they're worth, because that's what their boss tells them they're worth. I submit to you, you are worth far more than that. And the only way to find out is to remove the ceiling. Remove the ceiling. See what you're worth. Because you guys, when you come out here and you create an income of $4,500 a month, $4,500 a month as a gold, you get paid that every month. So we times that by 12. What does that equate to? That is the equivalent of $54,000 a year. Average income for a gold. Now, this might look familiar, right? Because what do? We take and divide that by 5% to determine how much of an asset we have to create. And what is it? $1,080,000. You guys, this is familiar because we already did it. A gold income is what the vast majority of Americans right now are shooting for their retirement. And how long does it take? How long does it take? You get really committed. You go out there and you build a gold business. Well, I could make a number up, or I could tell you exactly what the averages are. Since inception to today, the average person from everybody who has hit gold in doTERRA have done it in an average time frame of 27 months. 27 months. Now, some have done it short. Some people have done it over a weekend. Other people, it's taken a few more years. But the average person has done it in 27 months. So let's just assume that you're not quite average. Let's say it takes you a little bit longer. Let's say, just for the sake of math, because it's an easier number, let's say you do it in 30 months. Okay? So, to recap, you just created an asset. Right? An asset worth $1 million that's paying you $4,500 a month in income as a gold. $4,500 a month equals a $1,080,000 asset. How long did it take you to make that? How long did it take you to accumulate that? Well, let's divide it by the number of months it took you to hit the rank. Let's say you did it in 30 months. If you did it in 30 months, it's the equivalent. Now you need to understand this because this is huge. It's the equivalent of if you would have gone out and worked your entire life, putting a little bit of money into your account every month, growing that account to $1,080,000 to get a $4,500 income, you just condensed time. You just did it not in 40 years, you did it in 2.5 years. So how much money was being put into your, figuratively, into your retirement account at doTERRA? $36,000 per month. $36,000 per month. That's how much was going into your retirement account, theoretically, creating an asset worth $1,080,000 in 2.5 years that produced, theoretically at a 5% rate of return, a $4,500 a month income. Now, this is the thing I want to ask you, and I want you to think about it, is what you're currently doing right now in your job or in your endeavors. Is what you're currently doing right now contributing $36,000 a month to your retirement? And if it's not, I plead with you to sit down with the person that gave you this, to sit down with your spouse that's engaged and working hard, and have a conversation about how maybe, just maybe, our commitment to this process needs to improve and needs to increase. Because I didn't make it up. That's doTERRA's averages. What that means is if you come in and you do those simple things of holding classes, teaching people, sharing the oils, finding a few people along the way that want to join you in that endeavor. On average, you will do it in 27 months, which is equivalent at 30 months of $36,000 a month. I submit to you that you need to take your business just a little bit more serious. Now, let's just have some fun. Let's say hypothetically you went out and you got really committed. And you went out and you created an income, or you created a business, and you reached the rank of Blue Diamond in doTERRA. The rank of Blue Diamond in doTERRA currently is an average of about $41,000 a month. But let's say you did it, and you did it, and that's the first time you hit it, it's not 41,000 because that's the average. So let's say that when you hit it, let's say you got paid, I don't know, let's say $30,000. You got paid $30,000 the first time you hit Blue Diamond. And you continued to hit it thereafter. And so how often do they pay it? Every month. So let's times it by 12. You just created an asset paying you $360,000 a year. Now, let's do the math. What would you have to have in your investment, right? What would you have to save over the course of your 40-year career to have a $30,000 a month income? Divide it by 0.05 equals $7.2 million. $7.2 million. That's what you just created by achieving the rank of Blue Diamond. Now, how long did it take you to do it? Well, I don't know. How long would you like to do it? Some people have done it as short as 5 months. Other people have done it in a few years. Now, what happens is it creates an average, right? I don't know what the average is. Actually, I do. But let's just say hypothetically. Let's say hypothetically you did it in, I don't know, what's a good number? 3 years and 2 months. 3 years and 2 months. Let's see, that's 38 months. $7.2 million divided by 38 months. That's how long it took you to create this asset. You guys, what that means is that instead of 40 years, in 3 years and 2 months, you created a $30,000 a month income that equates to $7.2 million. That if you were to save that, you would have to put into your account $189,473 per month. Now, why do I put that up? And why do I get so excited? I don't know if you can tell. I try to tame it down. I really do. Because if you knew how excited I was inside, it might be a little scary. Because you guys, the reason I get so excited about doTERRA and about this opportunity is that is my number. 4 years ago, my wife engaged in doTERRA. She held some classes. She shared it with some friends. I watched her little business start to grow. Because what was really interesting is that people would use the oils. And then they'd order again. And they'd order again. And again. And you guys, I graduated from Utah State University with a degree in finance and business, economics. And one of the things that they taught us is they taught us that the number one measurement of success versus failure in business, is retention. It's not how many people you get through the doors on your big grand opening. It's how many people like what you do or provide or serve and come back. And what I watched is I watched my wife go out and have these classes. And I watched people buy the oils, and I watched them buy it again and buy it again. And then some people decided they wanted to join her in that, and they started to do the same. And over time, I watched this volume start to grow. And you guys, I'm not the smartest man. I graduated top 10 in my class. I graduated from Richfield, Idaho. There was 12 people in my class. So maybe that's not as cool as you might have thought it was. But the reality is I am smart enough even to know that when I saw her income start to approach my income as an investment, real estate investor, I took all 106 properties that we currently had. I gave half of them to my brother. And I said, you run it. And I made my wife's income our income. And the reason I did it is because I saw what it could do. And I saw that a guy from Richfield, Idaho, population 450 people, graduated top 10 in his class of 12. There is nothing that I could have done that is legal, ethical, and moral that could have made me that kind of money anywhere else in the time frame that it did. And that is the opportunity that you're being shown today. What's really powerful is we don't need all that. We don't need all that. My wife and I, we have 5 little children. We don't need $30,000 a month. So why do I keep doing it? Why am I here sharing this with you? It's because, you guys, I am motivated by something much deeper than the effort that I put in. It's even greater than the asset I'm creating. It's the fact that I have the opportunity to watch and see what people do with the money that I help them create. You were put on this earth to do something more than pay bills. And if you're currently living a life that doesn't allow you to think past the end of the month and how you're going to make those payments, let me submit to you that when you no longer have to think about how you're going to pay your bills, your mind still thinks. You still produce, you still think. You just think about different things. You think about things that make a difference in the world, that make a difference in people's lives. And I've seen what the money that I've helped people do or helped people make create. I've seen people within my team create grocery bags for hope, where they go out and they buy grocery bags and they give it to people that need it. I've seen people go out and create a fund to fund people that can't afford an orphanage or can't afford to adopt from an orphanage. They lend them the money that they can adopt, and then they pay it back. Because that child has to come, not always on our time frame. I've seen a company that goes out and invests in medical facilities for third world countries, that invests in days for girls where they teach people about how their body functions and why that's so important, and provides the necessary means for them to be able to take care of those things. We don't always understand that, but in other parts of the world, that's a phenomenal thing. I've seen them be able to create schools that allow children to go to school. I've seen what the company does with the money that I help them create, and I've seen what people do with the money that I help them create. So my invitation to you tonight is to shift your mindset from effort and how much time am I spending. Shift it over to the asset that you're creating. What are you creating, and what are you spending your time doing? And when you create an asset large enough, go out and make a difference. I want you to take some time, and I want you to think about what you've seen today, and I want you to get back with the person that gave you this presentation. And I want you to sit down and talk with them about what you'd like to do when this becomes a reality for you. Because it's not a matter of if, it's simply a matter of when, so long as you get really committed to the core basics of building this business, which is finding people, teaching people, enrolling them, and duplicating yourself in others. Which brings me to an interesting point. There's a reason that I wrote this up here. And it's not so that you could try and interpret my hieroglyphics. The reason this is here is, you guys, this is duplication. When you go out and you now share with others, you share with other people what you just saw and the paradigm that just changed. You can teach someone how to change from a linear to a leveraged income, to go from an employee or self-employed to a business owner. And you can teach them how they can change their perspective from a 40-year plan to a 4-year plan. You can draw it out and teach them what an asset is and how to create an asset. And that when you create an asset, you can avoid this. You can change the statistics. You can increase your chances of success by teaching other people. And when you teach other people and you recognize the asset you are creating and you get really committed and you go out and you create a doTERRA business that when you hit Blue Diamond gives you $30,000 a month. You can draw this for anybody. And I encourage you to do that. You watch it right now. Within the next 24 hours, I invite you to teach this to someone else. Because if you teach it, you will retain it. If you don't teach it, this will be a really cool story that you heard one time from a guy in a blue shirt. Now I want to leave you with one more story. And this one's kind of personal because there was a friend of mine. And I was telling him about the importance of supporting his wife and going out and building a business. And he says to me, David, he says, I'm not like you. I need somebody. I need somebody to tell me when I need to be to work in the morning. I need somebody to tell me what I do all day. And I need to tell them when I leave at the end of the day what they're going to pay me. That's how I'm motivated. I said, I just can't, I'm not self-motivated. I can't do what you do. And I looked at him, I said, well, let me ask you this. I said, if I was to ask you, if I was to encourage you, you go out there and you write down a schedule. You write down what you're going to do the next day. And you time block it out. And then you live it. And if you were to do that, I would give you $5. Would you do it? And what did he say? No. No, I wouldn't do it. I'm not motivated. I don't do that. I said, what if I gave you $10? No. What if I gave you $10,000? What if I gave you $20,000? Yeah, I think I'd do it. What if I gave you 36? Because that is what doTERRA is paying. On average, those that go out and hit gold in 30 months, making $4,500 a month, creating an asset worth $1,080,000, are being paid $36,000 a month. Will you go and get committed to your own business? Will you make a schedule and live by it for $36,000 a month? I think the answer is yes. My invitation to you is take back control of your life. Control your time, control your schedule. Give yourself the freedom to create the dreams that you know that you have. My invitation to all of you stands. Teach it, live it, and take back the control.